live from Adabraka, number 11, Dr. Martin Loop, to be precise. This is press conference right here on Citi TV, where journalists gather to dissect the major press conferences and press engagements in the course of the week under review. My name is Duke Mensah Opoku. This week, today is the 7th of December, right? So barely some 10 days from 10 days from now. Originally, there was supposed to have been a referendum to decide whether, so 9 days, yes. So today is the 8th of December. So some 9 days from now, the president supposed to have asked Ghanaians that critical question by way of that referendum to elect MMDCs on partisan or non-partisan basis. But then last week, same time around, immediately after the show was over, there was a national address by the president indicating that essentially, for lack of a national consensus, that bill, or two bills, one for the election of MMDCs on partisan or non-partisan basis, the referendum itself had been withdrawn, and then the elective principle had also been withdrawn. We'll look at the botched December 17th referendum and the issues and the matters arising. We would also look at, of course, the routine Meet the Press series by the ministers touching on various sectors of the country, which usually we air here. We'll look at that, and our panelists will have a bite at the issues that came up this week. The ministers for water, sanitation, as water resource and sanitation, Cecilia Dapa, as well as the minister for youth and sports, Isaac Kwame Siama, took their turns at the Ministry of Information. And finally, the latest Afrobarometer survey on the state of corruption in the country. As usual, the police service, on enviable record, still number one most corrupt institution in the country. Where did your institution place? Well, we'll be looking at some other details of the Afrobarometer survey right here on press conference. The show is live and interactive via the WhatsApp line 055058-5832, 055058-5832. You can join us via the Facebook stream. Drop your comments, we'll read them for you. You can also join us via Twitter with the hashtag press conference. We'll take a break. When I come back, I'll introduce my guests and we'll delve into the issues. Stay with us. Well, you're welcome back. This is press conference right here on Citi TV. Let me introduce my guests. To my immediate left, Franklin Asaridonko. He is assistant news editor, Today newspaper. Welcome, Franklin.
Thank you for having me.
Next to him is Ibrahim Al-Hassan. He's parliamentary correspondent, GH1 Star FM. Welcome.
Thank you, Duke.
And to my far left is Blessed Sugar. He is a news anchor, journalist, broadcast journalist with Class 91.3 FM. Welcome, gentlemen.
Always a pleasure being on your show.
All right, okay. So these are the panelists who will be helping us do the discussions tonight or in this edition of the program. We'll begin with the president's address, of course. He spoke to the nation and left the country with mixed feelings. People, some were happy, others were not, especially with the withdrawal of the constitutional provision, Article 243, which was supposed to make the election of MMDCs possible. I mean, to take away his power to appoint and to make it now elective. Let's hear the president in his own words before we come back to the discussion.
I'm convinced that it will not serve the public interest to go ahead with the holding of the referendum on 17th December, even though I believe a strong campaign for a yes vote would have succeeded. This is not the kind of atmosphere in which the repeal of an entrenched provision of the Constitution should take place. Even though I'm unrepentant in my belief that party politics is good for our country, for it enhances accountability, I also think that on matters of such constitutional significance, there should be a broad national consensus behind the repeal of an entrenched provision of the Constitution. So, fellow Ghanaians, it is with deep regret that I've given instructions to the Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, who has spearheaded this process on behalf of government with commendable vigor and dynamism, to abort the process and see to the withdrawal of the bills for the amendment of the Constitution, both in respect of Article 2431 and Article 55.3. Nonetheless, assure you, the good people of Ghana, that my government and I will continue to work for a broad national consensus on this issue. And should such a consensus be attained for the repeal of Article 55(3) of the Constitution and an agreement reached for political parties to participate in and sponsor candidates for election to district assemblies at any point during my tenure of office as President of the Republic, the matter will be brought again back to the front burner of our public discourse for the necessary action.
So that was the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Let me come to, you were in Parliament on Monday, I believe, when the Attorney General and the local government minister came to withdraw the instruments. But before that, the President spoke Sunday night.
Yes.
How did you receive that message?
Well, I wasn't surprised, Duke. Of course, you and I in Parliament, and at a point we spoke to Dambuche.
Days before, we spoke to Dambuche.
Good. And you got the sense that this was coming. Again,
even though he denied the fact that he was testing the waters.
Yes, but it ended up being exactly what he did. Right. And you had a number of government appointees going on record to call for the postponement of the referendum. And their reasons were that because the minority, and for that matter, the NDC, had publicly stated that they were going for a no vote. Okay. And also the no campaigns were equally gathering momentum on social media. So I sat on radio and said this was going to happen. And it's because we are all political watchers. Mm-hmm. If you need 75% of 40% voter turnout to have yes succeed, it will be politically unwise for you to go ahead with it, knowing very well that the opposition party is lurking around the corner, waiting to use the outcome of this particular referendum as the test for popularity of the certain president. Yeah. So politically, I envisage this happening. But then let's get into what the president said in his address. First of all, he instructed the wrong minister. The minister shepherding the bill was the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice, Gloria Kufu. Eventually, she was the one who showed up in Parliament to move for the withdrawal.
But the communication around this, the campaign, everything has been the Ministry of Local Government.
Yes, but if you talk about withdrawal of bills from Parliament, it is the ministry that shepherds the bill that does the withdrawal.
That does the withdrawal, yes.
Exactly. So, therefore, of course, I'm sure that what the president meant was that instructed the local government minister to also instruct the Attorney General to do exactly what eventually happened. Mm. But I'm not a lawyer and I don't pretend to be one. One thing that's quite curious is that, of course, 2 bills withdrawn. Mm-hmm. Was the CI a bill as at the time it was being withdrawn? Mm-hmm. It had already matured. Mm-hmm. It was laid in Parliament, referred to the Council of State, gazetted, and 21 days elapsed. So it had become a CI 120. Mm-hmm. So in the communication regarding the withdrawal, we were told that 2 bills had been withdrawn. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering, how can a CI that had matured to become a law be referred to again as a bill?
But you also agree that for such bills, and you remember with what happened with the various referenda that brought in the 6 regions.
Exactly.
After the results were gazetted, the Electoral Commission came back to Parliament for Parliament to work on those again before they became before those instruments were presented by the president.
The Electoral Commission
so they were after the referendum was going to be done at the end of that process, it was going to come back to Parliament.
Yeah, but it was the CI that gave the Electoral Commission the mandate
the power to go and run
the referendum. Yeah. So if the CI had then left Parliament, it had become a law, and the law had empowered the EC to go ahead with the referendum. I was wondering how come. No, my issue is not with the withdrawal. My issue with the fact that the CI was still referred to as a bill. It wasn't a bill by then. It had become a CI, matured and a law, so to speak, which had given the EC the power to conduct the elections, i.e., undertake the referendum. But then again, having said that, we saw this coming. If you remember, there were some memos in circulation coming from the EC. The EC had actually directed its accountants
to stop paying
to stop disbursing the referendum funds. And I'm sure somebody might have stepped on their foot and said, okay, this was what is coming. So
we are told that decision was firmed up at Cabinet on Thursday.
Exactly.
And then we saw the the fiat's going out on Friday.
On Friday.
Then Sunday, the president came to announce. So everything was quite chronological.
But then, what I found curious again was the condition that the president gave. He mentioned that this whole thing will be back onto the table again only if we agree as a nation that political parties must field candidates at the local level elections. Okay, so then you ask the question as to whether the bills were mutually exclusive or the two processes were mutually exclusive, i.e. amendment of Article 2431, which will empower us elected MMDCs, as against 553, which will introduce partisanship at the local level elections. Personally, I think the two are mutually exclusive. They could stand on their own. But from what the president said in his address, he envisaged the two going together. So if I'm not getting one, I'm withdrawing the other.
Yeah.
And that's what many people have argued against that. Listen, we can elect our MMDCs without necessarily electing them on partisan lines. What's wrong with that? But then again, politically, that would be suicidal. The president will at least, or any certain president at any point in time, will want to have a control over a certain number of MMDCs.
So those who belong to his party, they will have that.
Exactly. You can't cede power and cede everything in that regard. How are you going to govern?
But how about being the men behind the veiled curtain to control the independent, as it is done now?
Exactly.
By the political
exactly. For that, on paper, you don't have anything to hold the person accountable for. You see? But then again, the argument is that we've been pretending all this while. That, of course, you look at the posters of the various assembly members. You see the blue and white MPP, you see the green and a bit of yellow somewhere to at least deceive you and I, but we all know where they belong to. So we say that because they've been engaging in illegality, we should legalize the illegality. You see, but personally, I think that it's a missed opportunity. We could have still given our voices, whether no or yes. Let it be emphatic. So next time any president might not come and say, let me think about this again. We will know very well that as a nation, this is where we want to go. But then, even though it's a missed opportunity, I think it speaks to one thing. Thank God we are told that just 1 million Ghana cedis was spent by the NCCE. We don't know how
the under-resourced NCC.
And you can imagine what this 1 million Ghana cedis could have done for them in civic education. Remember, we put that direct question to the Attorney General, and she mentioned that at this point in time, it's difficult to quantify how much has been spent. But then again,
the local government minister told us that no money had actually. Okay, well, so from her side, money had not been expended. Only for us to learn later that NCC had spent over 1 million.
But you and I know that members of parliament were given monies to go and campaign for years.
I don't know about this.
I know about that.
I don't know what you are talking about.
Okay, I'm treating this as a fact.
Now,
members of parliament.
You know that MPs were giving money to go and campaign for
yes.
Majority and minority.
No, the minority, the challenge with that was the party's position. Okay. So they couldn't have been part of it.
How much did they give?
Oh, no, for the match, you and I wouldn't know. But
let me show a disclaimer. I don't know about what IB is talking about.
Okay, on record, you don't know. But yeah, I know about that for a fact. And we know, of course, even on the floor of parliament, some members of parliament have publicly stated that, yes, they were on a tour to galvanize support for the yes campaign. Eventually, it was aborted. Are we getting back our money from the members of parliament? We need to see.
All right, let me come to you, Blessed. We had a discussion about this thing last time, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and you had some views about it.
Yes, my view is clear. I stated that, well, this whole exercise is about the people of Ghana, and going into such a national exercise, which was democratic enough to hear the views of every Ghanaian, there was a need for us to allow the process to go on. And I made that clear here, that there was nothing, absolutely nothing for the President of the Republic to lose when Ghanaians go to the polls to decide on a constitutional matter as to whether or not we change or amend certain portions of our own laws, the laws that we want to govern us as a people. But if you listen to the President's address and you listen to what he told us, I'm inferring from his statement that there was no national consensus in the first place, and that such issues, such political exercises, including the referendum that was aborted, should be carried out devoid of partisan politics. And so when the president talks about partisan politics making its way into such an important national exercise, then I was trying to find out for myself as to whether or not this was a reality, that partisanship had crept into whether or not we should vote yes or no. So after the president did his address, Duke, it was surprising to find the main opposition, National Democratic Congress, quickly issue a statement to tell the people of Ghana that we won. And Duke, that's surprising that the opposition National Democratic Congress is telling us that this referendum that was aborted, in fact, if the president had gone on with the exercise, we would have won. And that's what...
And that they're still insisting that it's a win for no.
So that's the point I'm making, that then the president gets vindicated on his point that this national exercise had been reduced to a simple case of partisanship. And that is why...
is that not what the no campaigners are trying to avoid? That's the point they've been putting up across, that everything in this country has been made MPP and DC.
Well,
so why should... And we saw it.
Exactly. And so we've lost, in other words, a great opportunity of reforming our local governance structure on the altar of unnecessary politicking, which is quite unfortunate. But beyond that, Duke, what I feel we need to be looking at this point is that we need to initiate processes to ensure that by next year, because in a year from now, we're heading to the polls for a major election in 2020, which tells you that if political parties are using state resources, which are supposed to be used in a referendum, to, in a subtle way, test their popularity ahead of a general elections, it tells you that the interest and the tension going into the 2020 elections is going to be high. I don't think that we would see the tension as equal to any other political exercise that we've carried out in this country. So that has to be a critical factor that we need to begin to look at. In fact, if possible, the National Peace Council should begin to give us concrete steps that they'll be taking to engage all these political parties so that we do not record violence in the major elections. Because as of now, the chapters have been closed on matters relating to reforming our local governance structure. Because the NDC, which is the largest opposition, if they get the opportunity to form government, I'm not sure that they are going back to this subject.
I'm sure from the way they have articulated their position, I'm sure it will be somewhere in their manifesto that when they are elected, MMDCs will be elected on non-partisan basis. If the position and the principle of what has been articulated so far is anything to move by. It only makes sense that
this is the point
that would be their position going into election.
The president,
but we live to see.
President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo also has the opportunity now of revoking simply the 243 and to take away the appointing powers from his office. He didn't do that.
But
and I'm not sure
as we heard him say in his speech, it will only be back to discussion at the national level if there is a consensus on agreeing on voting on partisan basis.
Which at this point, we all know that we don't have, and there's no likelihood that we'll have that if another government is formed. Because if the NDC comes to power, the NPP, in the spirit of what we know to be partisanship in this country, would not in any way support the NDC government to take credit for reforming our local governance structure. And that's where we're going to have a bigger problem. But I want us to look at the bigger picture of 2020, the elections itself. I'm telling you that what has happened in just a space of 2 or 3 weeks prior to this referendum, which we understand was in the spirit of national consensus, turned into a partisanship issue. There is a bigger challenge that I foresee going into the 2020 elections, which we need to deal with. We want the CSOs, we want the National Peace Council, which has been, of course, by law and by convention, help to resolve matters of great differences ahead of major political exercises. So that's what I want us to begin to work on, because we've gone past this chapter, and that's a major exercise that we should not allow to degenerate into matters
Let me
conflict.
come to Franklin. Yeah. Franklin, for your own thoughts on this issue. We were also as well in Parliament on Monday. That's when the Attorney General came to put out the processes. What would you say?
Look, I think it's high time we begin to question politicians, especially when we are going to elections the kind of promises they do make. Because I have no doubt that President Nana Akufo-Addo don't know that if we are going to elect MMDCs, like he said, he's going to give power to the people. 2, 4, 3, 1 could have something that we can galvanize the MPs to do on the quiet and get us a national look and go into this.
The debate on this 243 was done in Parliament in July, before the presentation of the mid-year budget.
Yes.
It stayed on the books of Parliament up until when this whole thing was withdrawn.
But,
if they had passed it then, the president would now have had to come to amend the constitution to get to get that done.
I agree.
And it's all because the minority at a point shifted position.
No. If you could see, they were gathering momentum. I remember the local government ministry organized a workshop for editors and sample. And we saw the coordination that was coming. And the minister mentioned that both sides of the house have agreed to it. And we asked. I said, during the question time, I asked.
When was this?
It's before the meeting was held at Alisa Hotel.
Because it will give us an idea. Because at a point, we all knew that the NDC and MPP were added them in Parliament on this thing, that they will support it. Until it got to a certain point when the minority started bringing out some conditions precedent.
So, like I said, the president being a lawyer himself, sitting in Parliament for all these years, he knew what is in store for him when he was making that political promises. Now, I know from engagement I had with certain people are questioning if for now, as the law states, after elections, government appoints 30% to add up to the assemblies. There was nothing said about that. After all this rule value, when they do, is government still going to appoint 30% to the assembly?
All those were part of consequential amendments which were going to happen. Especially even who was going to lead the dissect and all those things.
And the president's ability to even fire the
MMDCs. All those
aside that, if even those things, but you see, you can't be saying certain things. Oh, you should do A, B, C, D. After that, we will do E, F, D. No. Certain things should be cleared so that we all know this is where we are going. Now, let's come to the president saying there was no much consensus. What consensus, again, does he need? Who and who is he going to consult now? Because he made us understand that he met all the former head of states. He met some of the... So, look, the Council of State. Not Council of State. National House of Chiefs.
Yes.
They were met, they had their position. At the end of the day, the way politics have ate into every fiber of our discourse. We saw what happened there. So who are they going to consult now to come up with what? Now they say we've not incurred any debt.
Any cost.
I am of the opinion that monies were wasted on fuel, adverts, printing of T-shirts, printing of all those things. Look, when was the last time MMDCs began to be holding press conferences?
But because of press. So are you saying that?
But because of this referendum, all of them were forced.
Frankly,
everybody was forced to.
So it's because of that.
Look, what did they discuss there?
So the media press that but this is something that the information minister spoke about, I think even earlier this year, that they want to send town hall meetings to be done by. So this has got nothing to do with the referendum.
We shouldn't take ourselves and be laughing. You understand? We knew what was installed. And those things, I can tell you on authority that it was used to go and organize for years' vote.
I'm telling you, the president was doing the town hall meetings.
What were they discussing?
To account to the people.
What have they done to account? What was there to account?
Some of the DCs have projects, bankable projects to show the people for their stewardship.
You see, as the fourth realm of the state, we need to open things for Ghanaians to know what is there. Okay. We shouldn't sit down for politicians to be tossing us around. Because before they say, you see, and this comes to my conviction that we always jumped before we think of where to land. I can mention a lot of projects, initiatives that today when you go and look for, you won't see. And it's all because we don't plan. We don't think through what we are going to do.
Okay.
Oh, because of the political gains out of it. Small project, you come with a lot of fanfare, and pageantry. You go the next day, you go and you don't see anything.
All right, okay. So all of us are on the panel. I can say are disappointed that it will take a while before this issue of election of MDCS is brought back onto the front burner of national discussions, as President Akufo-Addo puts it. Sad, but well, that's a reality we have to live.
Even the president, says he's saddened about the development.
Yeah, he said it's with a deep heart.
A deep regret. That's what the president said.
All right, we'll take a break. Yeah, when I come back, I have some of your messages to read, and then we'll get into the other issues on the table. This is Press Conference. Don't flip the channel. You're welcome back. This is Press Conference right here on Citi TV. I am Duke Mensah Opoku. I still have in studio Franklin, Ibrahim, and Blessed. Gone by, we were looking at the matter of the botched December 17th referendum. I will move on and deal with some of the Meet the Press series where ministers get to account for the issues in their sector to journalists every week. This week we had Minister for Water, Resources and Sanitation, as well as the Minister for Youth and Sports. But before that, let me read just a couple of your messages. Texting from Nzima Enyinase says, good evening. The president wanted to force us to vote yes. Why was he campaigning for a yes vote? Can't Ghanaians decide on their own? Well, that's what you think. Koshi Badahu Aivo, Denu Junction. I'm relieved we missed this threat to our democratic experiment. The proposal to elect MMDCs is illegal, impractical, fanciful, and potentially chaotic. Hey, Koshi. Well, that's what you think. The Honorable Collins Ouzwa Wankwa is tuned in. He has some questions for IB. Well, we would, regarding how much money was given to MPs and all of that. But we will reserve those questions for off air. But we would, yes, we would now go on to the Meet the Press series. First, starting with the Ministry for Water, Resources and Sanitation. It was one of the ministries carved out from the local government ministry to give attention to the president's vision to at least make Accra the cleanest city by the end of his first term in 2020. That's what he said. But the minister has been accounting to the people. He spoke about ending open defecation and some of the measures that government is putting in place in that regard.
Through the implementation of the rural sanitation model and strategy sponsored by UNICEF, over 3,000 communities have been declared open defecation free by constructing 40,348 household toilets to benefit 300,789 people. Under the Urban Sanitation Pilot Project, a total of 21,332 household latrines have been constructed in Tamaleho and Ashiaman. 30 basic schools have gained access to improved toilets. The ministry, through the Greater Accra Metropolitan Area Sanitation, known as the Gamma Sanitation Water Project, has also within the project period constructed 26,000 household toilets, benefiting about 180,000 low-income communities. Under the same project, 260 beneficiary schools have been provided with toilet facilities to benefit 200,000 school children. The ministry has initiated the construction of 2,000 household toilets within selected MMDAs in the Ashanti, Western, Central, and Northern regions.
So that's Cecilia Abna Dapa, Water Resources and Sanitation Minister. Well, the following day was the day for the MP for Achumamponia, who is Minister for Youth and Sports, Isaac Esiama. First, he spoke about the controversial AFCON budget.
So as I said, I went there on my own accord because I wanted proper accountability, proper scrutiny to be done by lawmakers. And that they checked the comments from lawmakers. Some were even calling for more. You check the records. Because let us be honest. Let's check the AFCON budget over the years. Please. 2015, for example, one classical example. Or 2013, in South Africa, we spent $15 million. As a nation, we need to decide whether even AFCON, we are going to participate in AFCON or not. Because the moment you make an attempt, they say to participate in AFCON, you have to incur expenditure. Because the team, not just you see it on the field of play, the team needs to be prepared. preparation involves a lot. You can't just say, oh, we are going for a tournament, no preparation. This kid were in Dubai for 3 weeks. So please, for me, the country mechanism, there are process institutions of state mandated to check every expenditure, and that is there. So when I'm found guilty of any expenditure, they'll come back to Parliament.
So that's an animated Kwame Siama talking about the AFCON budget and the expenditure, so millions of dollars. Well, he also spoke about the state of sports infrastructure in the country and what the Akufo-Addo administration is doing about that challenge.
This sports infrastructure that we are building, this stadium that we are building, is our contribution to support the local league. That's our contribution as government to support the local league. So all the teams will have access to our facilities, all the teams, as we have been doing. So, Mr. President, no fears. Very soon you will see quality pitches on your screens. Yes, not the ones that you've seen over the years. There's a Korea parks that you have seen over the years. We're going to have quality green parks across the country very soon. So if you want to adopt Ninehini Sports Stadium as your base, for me as an MP with my stakeholders, we'll give it to you free. Anything that comes to Ninehini is free. Provided it's registered by the FA, sanctioned by the FA, we'll give that facility to you free. So please, this government's contribution to support the local league. That's what we are doing. As we've done over the years. Accra Sports Stadium, as Ofok and Kumasi, it's for them.
So Isaac Esiama there once again, talking about the youth resource centers. So some 5,000 to 10,000 capacity youth resource and of course multi-purpose centers being built across the country. On the top of my head, I know one in Ninehin, the other in Axim. There's one also being built in Koforidua and a couple of others spread across the country. Well, let me come back to your studio. Let me start with you, Franklin. Sanitation and sports. What would be your pick? Some of the issues we have infrastructure, we have open unification, we have AFCON budget. I know the temptation is for AFCON budget, but
no, you see,
I will not ask what you want to talk about.
When it comes to issue of water and sanitation, it's my passion. And sometimes I get sad when I see ministers, when I hear people in government preaching, we built so number of toilets, we built so. Whose duty it is to put up a toilet?
Yeah, okay.
We have a law in this country. We have almost all the MDAs has laws sitting in their books. Before you put up a structure, so and so should be in. Why are we not enforcing the laws? Why are we not enforcing the laws? And sometimes I weep for the president because I think he should come back and say he wants to use one metropolitan assembly to pilot his cleanest city in Africa. That one. But look, I live in Adenta. I live in Adenta Snake Flat. I know when Snake Flat was Snake Flat. We used to call it Small London. Today, go and see. And the most annoying part of it is that the head or the seat of the municipality is within that enclave.
The MDC lives there.
Yes. The head, the seat of the assembly is there, within the flat. Just go run the assembly and see the filth. Where are we going? So instead of ensuring that the right things are done, we come and World Bank has given so and so. Ask them, who is financing for those projects? Should you always sit down for people to come and give us peanuts to no. We need to do the right thing. And I think the right thing is to go according to the laws of our game. Then when it comes to the AFCON thing, I laugh. Because the current sports minister I know is not the person I'm seeing today.
What are you talking? What do you mean by that?
Have you forgotten about the African
All African.
Maputo. He was the loudest person in the house.
He was ranking member.
Yes. I don't want to re-echo what some of the things he said. But today, look at him. You took our money. Our money for an event. You came and gave us 2 sheets of papers. You did ABCD.
That was a preliminary report.
You were told to break down. My military accounting tells me when you are going to do something, you bring breakdown. Oh, I gave 10 Cedi to Duke. He signed for it. I gave 20 to IB. He signed for it.
It was a statement to the House.
What did he tell us? Because you shouldn't forget that where he is now is for public trust. He promised he will come back within 1 month to come and give us the breakdown. How many months this? How many months?
Okay.
Then 2, he did mention that he's going according to the MFS Commission report.
Yeah.
Christ me.
Don't
Don't carry money. You carry money. You will share the money. Even people got money and they were complaining that theirs is less. He said he didn't good money. He said he went there on his own accord. Did he pay for the air ticket? Did he pay for his hotel? The tour, sightseeing he went. Was it from his pocket? Oh, you see, Ghanaians are not children. As a friend of mine will say, we are not children. So you should tell us. No one is telling you you've given your position. So we won't give you what you need to run the office. But tell us, oh, we need A, B, C, D. Everybody will understand. But to come and tell us that you went there on your own accord, how many weeks did you spend there? Is the sports ministry only about football and Black Stars? And look, I was starting and say, oh, we owe black meteors. Everybody know there was no plan for black meteors. How many officials from the ministry follow them to
It's in the semi-final and final, the new GFA president was there.
Please, don't
All
let
right.
us go there.
Come to you, Blessing.
Well, this is what I'll say, that we are in an era where the sports fraternity, if you take a look at Ghana and precisely what we are passionate about, it's mostly football.
It's football, yeah.
So we are coming out of a situation where the Football Association has been rocked with a number of challenges, and I see a lot of campaign coming back and calling on the people of Ghana to bring back the love. Now, if we have to bring back the love for the sporting fraternity and specifically with regards to Ghanaian football, then every stakeholder must be seen to be playing a role in effectively dealing with that perception that football is all about corruption. And so that should also include the Ministry for Youth and Sports. And having listened to the Minister, I think that there are a number of issues that needs to be further explained to the people of Ghana so that we win that trust. And I would also say that if we have to bring back the love for football, it needs to begin from the national teams.
Okay.
And so if these national teams are being rocked with alleged and perceived corruption, it tells you that Ghanaians will say, well, then nothing really changed. We just changed the name of the FA, or perhaps went into hibernation for a period. We are back, and
but
what
to be
we
fair,
are likely to see...
This did not happen under the tenure of Ket. This was
exactly.
under the normalization committee.
But if the
headed
issues
by
are
Dr.
still
Kofi
coming up
Annan.
now, there will be a need. That's why I'm laying that background. There will be a need for all stakeholders, including the ministry, to demonstrate that we are not going back to where we're perceived to be. And so we need the minister to engage the public more so that we have some level of much more transparency when it comes to issues of sports. But I'll deal with much more with the issue of sanitation, because that's a matter that affects each and every Ghanaian. The Sanitation Ministry was taken away from the Western Council. Local government ministry, yeah, right.
Sanitation from local government, water resources from
this is a ministry that's a new creation, sort of, which the Akufo-Addo administration appears to be very good at. Now, they've run this exercise for
3 years.
3 years.
Two ministers.
With two ministers, exactly.
So there was a director.
Right, so collectively in this 3-year period, one of the pressure groups and civil society organizations, the Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability, ASEPA, came up with their 2019 ministerial tracking report, which was suggesting to the people of Ghana that the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources was the worst performing sector under the Akufo-Addo administration. The ministry wrote back to ASEPA, telling ASEPA that you don't have a full understanding of our duties. And from excerpts of that letter, I don't have the benefit of showing that now. From excerpts of that letter, The minister appears to be telling the people of Ghana that I'm not responsible for directly coming into your homes and telling you
She has always said that. Kofi Adda even said that is not a Bola minister.
That I'm not coming there to do this. And then
Kofi Adda angrily said that is not a Bola minister.
And here's the part. The ministry redirects the people of Ghana to the MMDAs that go back to the chief executives if there's any critical specifics that you want us to deal with. But for our part, we are coordinating policies to ensure that something is done. So that brings about the loophole within this whole creation and the agenda of the president to make Accra the cleaner city. Because it tells you that after this new creation, there's not been any concrete effort to try and link this new creature to the already existing structures, which includes the MMDAs.
Yeah.
So you have, for instance, the Sanitation Ministry doing its own campaign. They've distributed a number of beans across the city. People are already abusing that because when you were sharing the beans, you didn't, I'm not saying this for a fact, but you didn't really get the buy-in from the various MMDAs as to, okay, unit committee member or assembly member, where would be the strategic position to place this bean? I'm not sure that we did that extent of consultation because you didn't see much more of the collaboration in that sector because the ministry was doing their own. The MMDAs are also doing their efforts on the other side. So this is to correct the problem within that ministry. There will be a need to make sure that this new structure that we have in the name of the Ministry for Water Resources and Sanitation liaise with the MMDAs so that the specifics of the matter will be dealt with
at that level
in its unique form. Okay. If that is not done, then we are not going anywhere. We're just
yes. Let me start from
they are not Bola
the
ministry. What was her role in distributing dustbins?
But when the argument is made that, of course, like you mentioned, it was Kofi Adda who said he's not a Bola minister. In essence, what he meant was that he's not responsible for coming into your house to collect your refuse. And I think that one is self-explanatory. Yes, I don't expect the minister to come to my house and collect my refuse. But of course... And
in Parliament, they were calling him Bola
minister. That was so unfair.
The MPs were calling him
That was so unfair. He's now aviation minister.
Yes.
Good. So
when they say Prime Minister,
let me start from what the president said. I think he was in Canada and some other places, and he mentioned that he won't spend money in addressing a problem that has been created by our attitudes. And I think I expected the president to leave with that particular statement because it syncs with virtually everything that's wrong with our sanitation. So talk about the framework that has been created. It's laudable that households are now getting toilet facilities. But then again, there's a bylaw that says every household must have a toilet facility. So if we were to enforce the bylaw, they won't spend money addressing a challenge that has been created by somebody's attitude, like the president said. Yeah. But then we will have money to spend on bigger things like creating drains, storm drains, and what have you, preventing flood. Again, you talk about the president's vision, which is very good, and that is making Accra the cleanest city in Africa.
To beat Kigali.
Exactly the point I was going to make. Kigali. So Kigali is sitting on top of that ladder. We want to knock off Kigali. And it's good the Sanitation Minister has said that
with Odona
maybe that will be realized during the second term of this administration, but not the first term. So in a sense, that is inachievable. For 2020, we can't have Accra being the cleanest city. Oh, okay. That's okay, but then I'll still come back to attitude. If we make attitudinal problems punishable and we punish people for it, half of the problem with sanitation will be solved. That's where we should start from.
Okay.
Now, as you can see, sports. Oh, okay. Also, the pitches that are being constructed, that's laudable. That's good. That's good. At least once you give the people the pitches and the facilities, they will be able to use the pitches to nurture their talent, and then of course they can make a living out of that. But then again,
I saw the one in Koforidua yesterday. Very nice.
Yes. Laudable. You see, in America. So to it, credit must be given where it is due. Good. So then you talk about the figures. Listen, I've spoken to the chairman of the sports committee, and that was about 2 months after Ezekesema came to Parliament. Members of Parliament on the Youth and Sports Committee still did not have the figures Ezekesema promised. As we speak, but at the meet the press, when the question was put to him, he mentioned that he's given the detailed figures to the appropriate quarters. I don't know what that
Auditor General.
Oh, wow.
So it will come to public account.
So the sports committee doesn't have the right to
They
assess.
do, but he prefers to use the Auditor General's route.
And he says that's where if anything goes wrong,
come
he
back
will
to
be-
Parliament. He will come and answer. That's
answer.
what he said.
Okay, no problem. But then again, if we are talking about the game changer taking position rightfully, and that is Keto Kriku, the new GFA president, and we promise transparency, I think moving forward, the least the ministry can do is to be transparent, so they take everybody along.
Okay. All right. As for that job, we know Dom Levo can do it. For the thing that can solve the sports industry. All right, we'll take a break here. You're welcome back. This is Press Conference Radio on Citi. Let me clear some messages. This one says, I was there at the town hall meetings organized by my MMDC. We were giving brochure advocating for yes vote. So, Franklin. All right. This one from Prince Henry Nkuforidia says, it's sad that the Honorable Esiama is still comparing their government to the NDC. He should know that Ghanaians voted for change in 2016. So whether NDC spent some amount of money or whatever, it doesn't matter. What matters is that they came in and do the right things. But what we are seeing now under this watch and the entire NPP government is not the best. Okay, so let's do the last thing. Afrobarometer, CDD. The round of surveys that they've been running this week, there were two actually that came up. One on vigilante and the other on corruption. If my producers can put up some of the findings on the screen. The key findings. Among key public officials in Ghana, the police, judges and magistrates, members of parliament, civil servants, and tax officials are the most widely perceived as corrupt. But perceived corruption among the police has declined slightly. Compared to 2017. Okay, this one says the army, religious bodies, and presidency are the most trusted public institutions. Wow. While opposition political parties and government officials and tax officials are the worst, are the least trusted. More than 57% of Ghanaians say corruption has worsened. Yes, corruption has worsened somewhat. So under the current president. So let's do the charts now. Let's look at the pictorial representation. Yes. So you have the police there at the top. Judges and magistrates come in second. Members of parliament third. Civil servants, tax officials, the president and officers in the office, MMDCs, traditional leaders, assemblymen and women, and in that order. And we have the media. Media persons. We are last. So at least it means that people say we are the least corrupt. At least members of the media are the least corrupt. Interesting. From public, it's been clarified. Media persons from the private institutions are more corrupt than perceived, than ones from the public institutions. Well, there's an explanation to that, but we have 5 more minutes, so we have to take just a bite each of the issues.
Okay. Okay. So Afrobarometer, within a space of 1 week, I think CDD
released two
reports.
So this one and then vigilantes, but this is
they've been very, very hard. Okay. So corruption, as old as Adam, as the president said, former president.
Yes, who is 81 today? Today's his birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Jack.
Happy birthday,
yes.
Jack. Yeah. He's a big man.
Yeah, big man.
And may he live long to continue to give his advice to certain presidents.
Right.
So, corruption.
If only it will be taken.
Please,
advice must be given. As for the taking, it's for the.
We don't have time.
Yes. So, corruption, I think, it's a collective effort in fighting corruption, honestly, because you see, and we make the mistake of always looking at the political elite when we talk about corruption. It's as if it's the government appointees, it is the politicians who are corrupt. But you see, when you're looking for admission for your ward or your child, then you understand what corruption means. When you go to the hospital and you queue, very long queue, and you see people passing the corner and then going to the consulting room to see the doctor, you understand what corruption is. So corruption is not just about money, attitudinal corruption and what have you. But then again, I think this Afrobarometer report, what it does is that we are not winning the fight against corruption. It says to us, all of us.
But the confidence in the police has slightly gone up, but they are still number one in
gone up. You see, and that's because perceptions are difficult to erase. When we were growing up, we all knew that the policeman will meet you and will take one gun.
Okay.
So it's difficult. So the police, they need to do much more to be able to raise that perception.
From looking at the report, I think that the people of Ghana perceive that they don't have much confidence in the fact that other political parties, aside the ruling government, which is the NPP government, will do better if they come to power in terms of fighting corruption.
For me, that's shocking.
And then the indications are also that even the president that we have now, who has promised the people of Ghana as at 2015, 2016, that I'm coming to tackle corruption, your efforts at fighting corruption is reducing.
Yeah.
What it then tells the people of Ghana is that, look, this issue of corruption is bigger than these two political parties or any other political parties that we have in this country.
Okay.
And that there is a need for us to deal with critical institutions that are key in fighting corruption, especially the Ghana Police Service. I think that this is the point that the Ghana Police Service, leadership of the Ghana Police Service, has to come out to tell us what exactly it is that they are doing to instill confidence in that institution. Because if you look at just briefly, if you look at the military, they have a higher rating of 74%. So something needs to be done.
Sometimes I tend to disagree with people.
Sphere.
You see, the police are always in the known because what happens on the street, even if you are in a trotro and look at the number of people in trotro.
Because we are being unfair to the police. Because they are visible.
The hospitals.
They are more corrupt.
Are more corrupt than the police.
All right, okay. On that note, we bring press conference to an end. My name is Duke Mensah Opoku. In studio, Franklin Asaredonko, assistant news editor, Today newspaper. Ibrahim Alasan is parliamentary correspondent, GH1 Star FM. And Blessed Soga, news anchor broadcast journalist with Class 91.3 FM. My name is Duke Mensah Opoku. Enjoy the rest of our programming and keep watching Citi TV.